The courtroom was already buzzing before Judge Judy even stepped in. Everyone could feel it. Something was about to explode. At the plaintiff's table sat Eleanor Grant, a soft-spoken woman in her late 60s. Her hands trembled slightly as she held a small folder. Across from her lounged Brittany, her daughter-in-law, 20-something, bleached hair, long nails, and a glare that could curdle milk. The bailiff called out, "All rise!" The room fell silent as Judge Judy entered, her expression as sharp as ever. "You may be seated," she said. Everyone sat, everyone except Brittany, who was still scrolling on her phone. "Put that down," Judy ordered. Brittany smirked, sliding it into her purse. "Relax, I was just checking the time," she said with a dramatic eye roll. The audience gasped. Judy's head turned slowly. "You don't tell me to relax, young lady. This is a courtroom, not a coffee shop." Brittany gave a fake smile. "Whatever you say, Your Honor." Judy's stare could have frozen fire. "Good. Then say nothing until I ask you." The tension was instant. She opened the file. "Mrs. Grant, you're suing your daughter-in-law for $12,000. Money you claim was a loan." Eleanor nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. My husband and I gave them $12,000 to help with their first home. They promised to pay us back within a year. That was 3 years ago." Brittany snorted. "That's not true," she said. "It was a gift. We didn't promise anything." Judy didn't even look up. "You'll have your turn," she said coldly. Eleanor's eyes watered. "My husband even wrote it down before he passed." Brittany laughed under her breath. "He was confused half the time. No offense." The audience gasped again. Judy froze mid-turn. "I beg your pardon?" Brittany shrugged. "I'm just saying, older people forget things. You probably wouldn't understand. Different generation and all." The air went dead still. Eleanor's mouth fell open. The bailiff stared. Judy leaned forward. "Are you saying I'm too old to understand something?" Brittany smiled sweetly. "Well, yeah. I mean, no offense, but you're kinda old school. You probably don't get how relationships work these days." That was it. The audience went silent. Judy stood slowly. "You're right about one thing," she said. "I am old school. And in the old school, when someone gives you money, you either pay it back or you lose your integrity and your case." Brittany's smirk faltered. "So," Judy continued, "before you dig yourself any deeper, let's find out if you even remember where that money went." She looked toward the camera. "And if you can't believe what just came out of this woman's mouth, hit subscribe, because this courtroom lesson has just begun." Judge Judy leaned forward, her eyes fixed on Karen like a hawk. "All right, Miss Widmore, let's talk about the night in question. When exactly did you and Mr. Porter end your relationship?" Karen straightened up in her chair, brushing invisible dust off her blouse. "It was 3 weeks ago. He came over to my apartment, said he needed space. You know what that means, right? Space for another woman." Ethan sighed quietly. Judy didn't react. "And what happened next?" Karen shrugged dramatically. "I told him he wasn't leaving until he told me the truth. He got all defensive, started packing his stuff. Then I told him fine, if he's walking out, he's not taking anything he bought with my money." Judy raised her eyebrow. "With your money?" Karen nodded confidently. "Yeah, half of what he owns is basically because of me. I supported him when he was broke." Ethan finally spoke. "Your Honor, I had a full-time job. I paid every bill. She's lying." Oh, don't even start. Miss Whitmore, Judy's voice cracked through the air like thunder. When I say stop talking, it means stop talking. I don't need surround sound in my courtroom. The audience chuckled. Karen folded her arms again, muttering under her breath. Judy continued. So, after he left your apartment, what did you do? Karen hesitated. I went to a friend's house. What friend? My friend Stacy. Full name. Do you really need that? Judy's eyes narrowed. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't. Karen hesitated again. Stacy something. You don't need her last name. The courtroom laughed. Judy raised her hand to silence them. Miss Whitmore, when someone can't remember their own alibi's last name, it usually means the alibi is made up. Karen's voice rose. I'm not lying. You're just twisting things like he does. Ethan shook his head. She doesn't even know anyone named Stacy, Your Honor. Liar! Miss Whitmore, Judy snapped. One more outburst and I'll clear this courtroom. Do you understand me? Karen froze, lips pressed tight. Judy lowered her voice. Now, you say you went to this supposed friend's house after the argument. What time did you leave your apartment? Karen fidgeted with her bracelet. Around 9. And when did you discover your car was damaged? About midnight. When I went to grab my charger, I saw the word scratched into the door. Tires flat, mirror cracked. Judy looked back at Karen. You live 15 minutes from his place, correct? Yeah. Why? Because, according to this, Judy held up a page, the neighbor's security camera caught someone who looks an awful lot like you walking toward his car at 10:47. Care to explain that, Miss Whitmore? The entire courtroom gasped. Karen's face went pale. That could have been anyone. It's dark. Those cameras are blurry. Judy set the paper down. Actually, the image is clear enough to see your bright red jacket, the same one you're wearing today. Laughter and whispers filled the room. Karen's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Ethan exhaled, almost relieved. That's the jacket, Your Honor. Judy leaned forward again. Miss Whitmore, you say you went to this supposed friend's house, yet the footage places you near the plaintiff's property that same night. Care to explain that, Miss Whitmore? Stammered. I just wanted to talk to him one last time. I didn't do anything wrong. Judy smirked slightly. So you weren't vandalizing his car. You were just holding a conversation with it? The room exploded in laughter. Even Ethan cracked a smile. Karen's face turned bright red. This isn't funny. No, but that logic is. The laughter died down. Judy's tone sharpened again. We'll come back to that footage later. For now, I want to know what kind of conversation you thought you were having at nearly 11 o'clock at night. Karen stared at the floor. He ruined my life. I wanted him to feel how I felt. Judy leaned back. And that right there might be the first honest thing you've said all day. The courtroom fell silent again. Judy turned the page. But here's where it gets worse, Miss Whitmore. Because this isn't just about a car. There's something else in this file that doesn't match your story at all. Karen looked up confused. What do you mean? Judy tapped the folder. We'll get to that, but I suggest you think very carefully before your next answer. The tension in the room could be cut with a knife. And for the first time, Karen didn't look so confident anymore. When the court reconvened after a short recess, the air was thick with anticipation. The audience had returned to their seats, whispering, waiting to see what Judge Judy would do next. Judy tapped her pen lightly against the bench. All right, she said, let's pick up where we left off. Miss Miller, I asked for your bank records from the time the $12,000 was deposited. Did you bring them? Brittany shifted in her seat. No, I didn't think I needed to. I mean, this isn't like a criminal thing, right? The audience chuckled, but Judy didn't. No, it's not criminal, she said calmly. It's just a matter of honesty, something you seem to be short on. Brittany's mouth opened, but Judy's hand went up. Save it. My clerk pulled your records instead. And guess what I found? Brittany froze. Judy flipped a paper on her desk. The day after you received Mrs. Grant's $12,000, you made 3 large withdrawals, $2,500, $4,000, and another $3,000 a week later. None of those payments went toward your house. Brittany blinked rapidly. That's not true. Oh, it's true, Judy said, holding up the document. $4,000 went to a furniture store. Another $2,500 to a vacation package in Miami. Does that sound like a down payment to you? The audience gasped. Eleanor clasped her hands, whispering, "Oh my goodness." Brittany stammered. That was part of setting up our home. We needed a break after the move. Judy's eyes narrowed. A break? You took your mother-in-law's savings and rewarded yourself with a beach vacation? The courtroom went silent again. Even the bailiff's jaw tightened. Brittany tried to smile. It wasn't like that. You don't understand. We were stressed. Oh, I understand perfectly. You were stressed because responsibility takes effort. You thought you could take what wasn't yours and rewrite the story later. It's called entitlement. The audience clapped softly. Judy ignored it. She turned to Eleanor. Mrs. Grant, did you ever agree to finance a vacation? Eleanor shook her head. Of course not, Your Honor. That money was meant to help them start a life, not live one we couldn't afford. Judy nodded, eyes back on Brittany. That's the difference between you and her. She saves, plans, and helps others. You spend, lie, and insult the very person who lifted you up. Brittany's jaw clenched. It's just money, she muttered. Judy's eyes flashed. It's never just money. It's respect, it's promise, it's character, the things you clearly don't value. The courtroom broke into murmurs again. Eleanor looked at Judy with quiet gratitude, while Brittany avoided eye contact completely. Judy leaned back in her chair. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to explain why you think taking a vacation with borrowed money doesn't make you responsible for repayment. And you'd better do it without another snide remark, or this case will be over faster than your trip to Miami. Brittany swallowed hard. The smirk was gone. This time, the nation's favorite judge had her exactly where she wanted her, cornered by her own arrogance. Judy adjusted her glasses, her stare locked on Brittany like a laser beam. "All right, Ms. Miller," she said. "You told me this was a gift. You told me you used the money for your home. Both claims have been proven false. So now you're going to tell me why you thought this was acceptable." Brittany crossed her arms, her voice suddenly defensive. "Because she wanted to help us, okay? My husband and I were struggling. She said, 'Don't worry about paying it back right away.' That sounded like a gift to me." Judy raised an eyebrow. "Not paying right away isn't the same as not paying ever. You understand the difference, right?" Brittany hesitated. I guess." "You guess?" Judy repeated. "This isn't a guessing game. This is a courtroom." The audience chuckled softly. Brittany shifted uncomfortably. "Look, she was always talking about wanting to see us happy. My husband said she'd never actually make us pay it back." "And your husband isn't here today because—" "He's working," Brittany replied quickly. Judy tilted her head slightly. "Working or hiding?" A few people in the audience laughed quietly. Brittany flushed red. "That's not fair." "Neither is taking money that isn't yours," Judy shot back. "You see, fairness is what I do. You just do excuses." Eleanor sat silently, eyes glistening as she watched the exchange. Judy glanced toward her, then back at Brittany. "Let's test your logic. You claim it was a gift. Fine. Tell me what you gave her in return. Brittany blinked. What? Judy leaned forward. When someone gives you $12,000 as a gift, you say thank you, you send a card, you visit, you show appreciation. Did you do any of that? Brittany stammered. Well, I texted her once. Judy's voice was razor sharp. Once. For $12,000. That's one text per thousand. Very efficient. Laughter rippled through the courtroom. Even the bailiff's lips twitched. Brittany's eyes darted nervously. This isn't funny. You're right, Judy said firmly. It's not funny. It's sad. You took advantage of someone who loved you, and now you're sitting here acting like she owes you an apology. I didn't mean to take advantage of her, Brittany cried. I just thought— You didn't think, Judy interrupted. That's the problem. The words hit like a gavel strike. The audience went silent. Judy continued, voice calm but cutting. You thought you were clever enough to twist this story. But let me tell you something. Arrogance doesn't age well. It spoils fast, and it stinks up any room it's in. Brittany opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her confidence was gone, replaced by the pale look of someone realizing they'd lost control. Judy turned to Eleanor again. Mrs. Grant, did you ever call this money a gift? Eleanor shook her head quickly. Never, Your Honor. My husband even wrote a reminder note for them, but Brittany tore it up in front of us. The crowd gasped. Judy's eyebrows shot up. She did what? Eleanor nodded sadly. She said, we don't need your old-school rules. Then she left. Judy turned back to Brittany slowly. Is that true? Brittany fidgeted. I don't remember saying that. I do, Judy said, because that sounds exactly like you. The audience burst into murmurs again. Brittany sank a little lower in her seat. Let me make this very simple, Judy said. You tore up a written promise, spent the money on yourself, and now you're sitting here acting smug. You're lucky I don't make you write every single check by hand in front of this audience. Brittany didn't respond. Her bravado was gone, completely. And the crowd knew Judy had her right where she wanted her. Judge Judy's stare could have cut glass. The courtroom had gone utterly silent, everyone waiting for the next hammer to drop. So, Judy began, your husband conveniently isn't here today. Brittany nodded quickly. He's at work, Your Honor. He couldn't get the time off. Judy leaned back. Couldn't get the time off or didn't want to face the truth? Because I'll tell you something, men who owe money tend to disappear when accountability walks in the room. The audience chuckled, then quieted again when Judy raised a hand. I've seen this 1,000 times, she said. The husband hides behind the wife blames the mother-in-law, and the story gets rewritten until the liar starts believing it. Brittany looked defensive. He didn't hide. He just thought this was ridiculous. He said his mom wouldn't actually take us to court. Judy's eyes snapped toward her. Oh, so now it's his fault? I'm not saying that, Brittany stammered. I'm just saying she shouldn't be doing this to her own son. Eleanor's voice broke through softly. I didn't want to do this, Brittany. I begged him to come talk to me. He never did. Brittany turned toward her with a glare. Because he made him feel guilty. You always make him feel like he's failing. Failing? Category sharply. Failing at what? Telling the truth? Paying back a debt? Or respecting the woman who raised him? The audience erupted with gasps. Judy pointed her pen at Brittany. Let me make this clear. You are in this situation because you both decided her kindness was optional. It isn't. When someone helps you, you don't repay that by ghosting them for 3 years. Brittany's voice rose, shaky but angry. You don't understand. She treated me like a child, always judging, always comparing me to her perfect old-fashioned ways. Judy leaned forward slowly, eyes narrowing. Old-fashioned ways like keeping your word? Paying back what you owe? You're right. I am old-fashioned. I believe in integrity. The audience clapped loudly before Judy raised a hand for quiet again. Let me tell you what I see. I see a mother who helped her son. I see a daughter-in-law who turned that help into entitlement. And I see a judge who's out of patience. Brittany's mouth tightened, but she didn't dare interrupt. You want to talk about feeling judged? Then act in a way that earns respect. Because right now, the only thing you've earned is embarrassment. The words landed heavy. Even the air seemed still. Eleanor dabbed her eyes again, whispering, "Thank you, Your Honor." Judy nodded once. "Don't thank me yet. I haven't ruled. But I can already tell you this. If your husband doesn't walk through that door in the next 5 minutes, he'll have a judgment waiting for him by name." Brittany's eyes widened. "You can't." "Oh, I can, and I will. You think you're the only one accountable here? Wrong. Marriage means shared benefits and shared debts. He took that money too, and he'll be paying it back, whether he's in this room or not." The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Eleanor sat up a little straighter, a flicker of pride showing through her tears. Brittany sank back in her seat, whispering under her breath, "This is insane." Judy's gaze didn't waver. "No, Ms. Miller, this is justice." The audience burst into applause again, unable to hold it in. And for the first time, Brittany didn't look smug. She looked scared. The courtroom was utterly still. Karen's confession hung in the air like smoke, real, heavy, and impossible to ignore. Judge Judy didn't speak right away. She just sat there, her fingers laced together, eyes fixed on Karen. It wasn't anger anymore. It was disappointment, sharper, deeper, quieter. Finally, Judy leaned forward. "Well, we got there eventually. Took a few lies, a few stories, a few emotional breakdowns, but at least we finally arrived at the truth. You vandalized his car." Karen's voice was shaky. "I said I'm sorry." Judy blinked slowly. "Sorry is not a magic eraser, Ms. Whitmore. You can't destroy someone's property and reputation and then hide behind the word sorry. It doesn't work that way." Karen looked down. "I just wanted him to feel what I felt." Judy's tone cut through the silence like a blade. "He did feel what you felt. You felt betrayal. He felt it when he saw what you did to his car. You felt humiliation. He felt it when you called him a cheater in public without proof. The only difference is he didn't lash out." Ethan swallowed hard. You could see the relief and exhaustion on his face, but also a hint of sadness. He never wanted this, but he needed closure. Judy turned to him. "Mr. Parker, how much did the repairs cost?" Ethan opened the folder he'd brought. $2,674, Your Honor." Judy took the paper, looked at it briefly, and nodded. "Reasonable. And considering the emotional damage of being publicly accused and dragged through this nonsense, I'm adding an additional $1,000 for punitive damages." Karen's head snapped up. "That's not fair. I said I was sorry." Judy didn't flinch. "You weren't sorry when you keyed the car. You weren't sorry when you lied in this courtroom. You're only sorry now because you're caught." The audience murmured, a wave of quiet agreement rolling through the room. Karen's voice cracked. "You don't understand what he did to me emotionally." Judy raised a hand. "I understand perfectly. You got hurt, and instead of healing, you went on the attack. But here's the thing about revenge. It doesn't fix the pain, it feeds it. Karen's lip trembled. I just wanted him to feel small. Judy's eyes softened slightly, but her tone remained firm. You succeeded. But now look who feels small. Karen looked down at her lap, tears falling freely. Judy sighed quietly and looked toward the camera, or maybe the audience, speaking not just to Karen, but to everyone watching. When you let anger run your life, you become the very thing you claim to hate. This case isn't about a car. It's about pride and how quickly it can turn you into your own worst enemy. The courtroom was silent, every word landing like a gavel strike. Judy picked up her pen and wrote on the paper before her. Judgment for the plaintiff. Total amount, $3,674. She set the pen down. That's all. The bailiff nodded. Court is adjourned. The gavel hit once. Karen's shoulders slumped. She didn't look up. Ethan turned to leave but paused. I never cheated on you, Karen. I really did care about you, but you didn't trust me, and that's what destroyed us. Karen didn't answer. She just stared at the table, trapped between regret and disbelief. Judy gathered her papers calmly, her face unreadable. But as she stood, she glanced briefly at Karen. One last look that said everything words couldn't. And in that moment, everyone in the courtroom, everyone watching, knew. Justice had been served, and a lesson had been learned the hard way. The sound of the gavel still echoed faintly as the courtroom began to empty. People whispered as they left, still processing what they had just witnessed. It wasn't every day that someone watched their lies collapse, one truth at a time, right before the nation's eyes. Karen sat completely still at the defendant's table, her face streaked with tears, her posture slumped, not in defiance anymore, but in quiet defeat. She didn't look angry now, just hollow. Ethan quietly gathered his papers, slipping them into his folder. He didn't look triumphant. There was no smug smile, no moment of gloating, just quiet dignity. As he walked past Karen, she finally whispered, "Did you ever love me?" Ethan paused. He didn't turn around, but his voice was calm. "Yeah, I did. I just didn't deserve the way you ended it." Then he walked out, leaving the echoes of what might have been behind him. Judge Judy remained seated, watching silently as the last few people exited. Finally, when only the bailiff remained, she sighed and spoke softly, the kind of voice she rarely used. "Bert, it never fails to amaze me," she said. "People come in here thinking I can fix what they broke, relationships, trust, decency. But I can't. All I can do is hold up a mirror." Bert nodded quietly. "That one's gonna sting for her." "Oh, it will," Judy said, closing the file in front of her. "But maybe that's the point. Sometimes pain is the only teacher left." The camera lingered on Karen, who still hadn't moved. For the first time, she looked not like a villain, but like someone realizing too late how far she'd fallen. Judy stood, gathering her papers. "You know, people think I'm harsh," she said, as she walked toward the door. "But what's really harsh is the truth. It doesn't care how you feel. It just is." Bert gave a faint smile. "And that's why they keep tuning in." Judy glanced back, half a smile tugging at her lips. Or maybe they just like watching karma show up on time. The faint sound of her heels echoed as she exited through the chamber door. The camera cut back to Karen one last time, still seated, still motionless. A quiet voiceover faded in, echoing Judy's lesson. When pride blinds you, truth becomes your punishment, and when lies fall apart, all that's left is who you really are. The scene faded to black. Then, in the softest tone, Judy's final thought lingered like a closing gavel. Justice isn't just about winning a case. It's about facing yourself and finally telling the truth. Gavel strike.